What gave you the idea with that airplane analogy?
First of all, thanks, Andrew, for having me on your podcast. I appreciate the time that you're taking to talk to me. Why airplane? Because right now, the pattern that I see in different industries is everyone is looking for a shiny object. Like I receive several emails almost every other day asking about what's the coolest tool that you're trying, the AI tool that you're trying, and we want to check it out and try. The challenge here is like most companies are looking for a shiny object rather than thinking about the whole airplane itself. And most of these companies, they're at least 1 or 2 decades old, and they're trying to go through this AI transformation without looking at the whole ecosystem itself. And the reason that I use that analogy of the airplane is like we don't want to risk our lives getting in an airplane that has the fanciest engine, but the pilot doesn't know how to fly it, or the flight attendant, they don't know how to act when an emergency situation happens, or there isn't any navigator system that can tell us where to go. And right now, the reaction that most companies they have to AI is similar to this. People, they don't know the foundation, or they don't have a good understanding of foundation of AI itself. And in some cases, people are not ready. They're just trying to bring a tool to the company and see how it works. And we don't know where to go. Like, okay, what's the strategy? Where we are heading? Are we flying from San Francisco to Georgia, or we're going from San Francisco to New York?
Welcome to the Value Factory Podcast, brought to you by OneAccord. We're all about helping businesses thrive and grow through leadership, strategy, and meaningful impact. Now, whether you're a seasoned executive or just starting out, our goal is to provide insights and inspiration to help you navigate your journey. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Value Factory podcast presented by OneAccord. I'm your host, Andrew Ballard, and our topic today is how can you prepare your organization in the age of AI? And our guest has posed a question that I'm going to pose to you before I introduce her, and that is, if your business were an airplane, would you get on board and fly in the age of AI? So I want you to think about that while I introduce our guest, Dr. Sam Zolfagharian. Did I pronounce that right?
It was perfect, Andrew.
My goodness, I practiced. Great.
Thank you.
An AI strategist, best-selling author, and co-founder of JegaTech. It's a consultancy helping CEOs and boards navigate AI disruption with strategy and confidence. I'm so excited to have you here, Doctor. So Sam has over 2 decades of experience in tech and innovation, including leading Autodesk's product platform in Silicon Valley. She also holds her PhD in data-driven design computing from Georgia Tech. And I believe that you're in Georgia right now as we speak. Is that correct?
I'm actually in San Francisco.
You're in San
the hub of
Francisco.
AI, yes.
Okay.
After graduation, I moved to San Francisco.
Okay, that's great. So whether you're leading a legacy organization or scaling innovation, Sam's work focuses on making AI actionable and leadership future ready. So very, very excited about that. So, Doctor, I asked the audience the question, if your business were an airplane, would you fly on it right now in the age of AI? I just thought that was such a brilliant question. It really kind of level set. Talk about that. What gave you the idea with that airplane analogy?
First of all, thanks, Andrew, for having me on your podcast. I appreciate the time that you're taking to talk to me. Why airplane? Because right now, the pattern that I see in different industries is everyone is looking for a shiny object. Like I receive several emails almost every other day asking about what's the coolest tool that you're trying, the AI tool that you're trying, and we want to check it out and try. The challenge here is like most companies are looking for a shiny object rather than thinking about the whole airplane itself. And most of these companies, they're at least 1 or 2 decades old, and they're trying to go through this AI transformation without looking at the whole ecosystem itself. And the reason that I use that analogy of the airplane is like, we don't want to risk our lives getting in an airplane that has the fanciest engine, but the pilot doesn't know how to fly it, or the flight attendant, they don't know how to act when an emergency situation happens, or there isn't any navigator system that can tell us where to go. And right now, the reaction that most companies, they have to AI is similar to this. People, they don't know the foundation, or they don't have a good understanding of foundation of AI itself. And in some cases, people are not ready. They're just trying to bring a tool to the company and see how it works. And we don't know where to go. Like, okay, what's the strategy? Where we are heading? Are we flying from San Francisco to Georgia, or we're going from San Francisco to New York? Like, what's the plan? And I thought that analogy can help myself to figure out how organization should think about AI adoption, should think about the future of work, which is going to be AI driven itself.
Yeah, I absolutely love the analogy. And it's kind of like somebody who really doesn't understand the entire AI ecosystem. They're on the airplane, but all they're concerned about is their seat, where they're sitting at that moment.
Yeah.
But, that's not going to get you from San Francisco to Georgia. You need the entire plane. And of course, we've all heard the analogy that we're building this aircraft in the air while we're flying, and that's very dangerous. One thing I want to share also with the audience is that your new book, Disrupted, is a practical roadmap for leaders, especially non-technical ones who want to prepare their organizations for the age of AI. And we'll talk a little bit about that and where people can find that book towards the end of our interview here.
Sounds good.
I did want people to know that because that's really neat. So, okay, we've covered the airplane analogy. So, Sam, why AI and why now?
One thing I want to touch based on what you said earlier, like sitting on our seat and not knowing where to go.
Yeah.
In the airplane itself. And that resonated with what's happening in most companies. It's just leadership. They don't communicate with their employees why AI and why they should consider using AI itself. But when you get in an airplane, the pilot, you know where you're going, and the pilot still tells you where you're headed, what the temperature looks like, and what the road will look like if there's any turbulences or not, right? So it's like that. What you said, just in my brain, I was like, oh, yeah, like that's so important to communicate from the leadership point where we're heading. But why AI? Why now? I hope by now we don't look at AI as a hype, because with all investment that is happening, with all tech companies that are growing, and the focus on AI is not going to go away, and it's not a hype itself. What we need to think about is what AI means for our company. And why now is because most of the things that we do today, not every company, but most companies, they're digital. And on average, based on Statista, we generate a medium-sized company, they generate 50 to 500 gigabytes of data every single day. Imagine how your employees, how you as a leader can get a better insight from that amount of data that is being generated every single day. It's impossible. And it's like, even if you find a way to get the better insight, still there are some stuff that is missing, because that's the huge amount of money. Besides that amount of money that we have, which is kind of difficult for human to analyze, we have shortage of talented workforce. I know there are some debates in terms of AI is replacing jobs. I can get back to it later. But in the meantime, there are many executives that they're reaching out and they're saying, we have 50 job openings in the market for the last 6 months, and we don't get anyone applied that is the skill or the right person to hire. And they're thinking, what if we hire a junior person and train them for that role itself? So there is like a talent shortage as well. And this is in the company level. So companies are dealing with the amount of data that they generate every day. It's kind of difficult to do the analysis, get the better insight. Then they're dealing with the labor shortage as well. And then let's step back, look at our competitors. competitors, there are some visionary competitors that they're trying to deal with these challenges using AI. And when they use AI, it's like they're getting ahead of the market. They can address that shortage of workforce with AI solution. They can get better insights and even understand the market trends using those data that they have. They are able to like personalize their customers' experience. Let's say there's a proposal out there and a company can tailor the project based on who the client is, what they need, and make sure that it responds back to that client needs. So if you look at it, your competitors are doing a better job by using AI itself. And what it results when competitors, they do that, it results in changes in client expectations. So if you can look at it as a loop. So company itself dealing with data, lack of workforce, competitors are trying to address these challenges by using AI, and eventually as a result, they change clients' expectations. Clients are asking for like high quality work. They're asking for everything faster and even cheaper. For the cheaper part, I don't think using AI means we have to make our services cheaper, because that's going to be race to the bottom. But I mean like how we can optimize the cost itself. But then the client's expectations change, and eventually companies that they don't use AI, they're losing their current clients to those who are using it.
Mm-hmm.
And they get out of the loop. So it's going to be the competitors who are leading the market, working with those clients who used to come to those companies that now they're out of market because they didn't adopt AI. So I was looking at it from the company side itself, competitors, and also the client's expectations.
Sure. And Sam, you shared something at the beginning of your explanation there that really struck me. And that was that, many mid-sized businesses are generating 500 gigabytes of data a day. I mean, that's just, to me, that's mind blowing. And it's leadership's responsibility to really sift through all of that data and be able to separate signal from noise so that their strategic decisions are based on what matters most.
Yeah.
And I think AI really helps with that sifting process. Is that an accurate analogy?
Yeah, exactly. And Andrew, one thing that I was thinking about it a few days ago, and I'm sure some of your audience probably they're noticing it as well. People who we used to work with, now they're faster. They can do stuff faster. And since they're faster, they can generate more content. Let's say you ask them for a deck for executives presentation, and they go and do it maybe in less than a day. I remember back in time, like 8 years ago, back to my time at corporation, it used to take us like at least a week to get that presentation together. But right now, people can do it in just a matter of a few minutes. So since they get faster, they send you the content and you have like 50 pages to review. So if we don't use AI ourselves, like we get like overwhelmed with the amount of information we receive from others. So at some point we're like, oh, I can't catch up. I'm burnout. So it's really important if everyone is using AI and they're trying to stay ahead, we also match ourselves so we can keep up with that speed. Because eventually once everyone gets comfortable with it, they generate report, they generate like a slide, and they create content using AI. They're getting faster and they can make it longer content as well. So if I don't use it to check it out, then it's lots of work for myself.
Right. And, you're talking about how AI can give you a competitive advantage. And, I know larger firms, Fortune 1000 and up, they're living here. They're building their own agents. They're customizing AI for their workflow, their processes, et cetera. So especially for some of our smaller leaders and entrepreneurs, I mean, this can really be overwhelming for them. And a lot of what I hear, Sam, is people saying, my gosh, where do I even start? So if a company is interested in going through an AI transformation, what's kind of the beginning sequence of getting on that path?
The short answer is slow down, because if we
Slow
don't
down
slow
so you
down,
can speed up.
Yes, yeah.
I
If we
like it.
don't slow down, then it's like, oh my gosh, it's too much. And sometimes I feel that overwhelmed feeling as well. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, too many things are happening. But the best way to manage it is just slow down. And like as you mentioned, to speed up. But like slowing down give us that space to rethink, okay, what's happening? And then think about it. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my employees? What does it mean for my company? And how I can take advantage of it. The question that you asked in terms of small companies, they don't know where to start. I explain it in like block by block because I used to be an engineer. I enjoy like breaking down the problem itself. The first step that you can do if you wonder where to start is looking at your company. There are companies out there that they're looking for shiny object, and we call it outside in a strategy. It means let's see what's happening in the market. Let's see what competitors or others are using, and then let's give it a shot and try it. That's outside in a strategy. And it's so difficult with the amount of tools that are out there to keep up and also get adoption because, okay, this tool is cool. Let's use it. For what? Which problems we're trying to solve? If we can have like inside out strategy, and what it means is let's look at our company, let's see what are the inefficiencies, let's see what are the challenges our employees have, and how AI can augment them, how AI can automate some work that are repeatable or not enjoyable for our employees. And again, that's called inside out strategy. And once you do that, then you go and do the targeted experimentation. You find the gap within your company, and then you go outside and look for a solution. That makes everything easier. There are companies, medium size, as you mentioned, they're building agent workflows. That's a little bit far from maybe a small size company. Maybe at this point, the smallest way is like, what are those agents that we can leverage and see how it works and measure the success, whether it's like addressing what we need or not, and then eventually connect those to make the workflows. But if we want to think about, okay, let's build the agentic workflow, where to start, what to do, that's going to be like boiling the ocean. The best way is looking at it as block by block and then moving on block by block, testing it, see if it works. And then once you're comfortable, then try to bring agentic workflow to the game itself.
Excellent.
Yeah. There's a bigger picture that I usually talk because I see AI as a transformation, and I believe we shouldn't look at it as just increasing efficiency, but going for transformation. And this is how I map it in the book. Like when we are looking at AI, we should think about the culture. We should think about the business. Culture would be the foundation. Business model would be the value generator. And to make these happen, we need to look at the operation model, the workflow, which is like an enabler. And that's where we can make the change. Otherwise, just increasing the efficiency for the old habits, it may not get us that far.
Okay, that's great. And, I'm talking about how smaller organizations, are overwhelmed. And then I'm almost pushing back on myself because OneAccord, there's about 50 of us. We're a national consulting agency all about preparing businesses to transition. And we do that by building greater enterprise value. But, in the national level, a team of 50 is not a large company, and we're already developing and customizing AI agents to benefit not only OneAccord, but more importantly, benefit our clients and, kind of connect those solutions. So as you talk about, a problem looking for a solution, for lack of a better term, that really makes great sense. And so, you started off talking about how a lot of folks, business leaders, et cetera, might not be thinking about the entire ecosystem. We used the plane analogy and the seat. And then you also talked about different ways of looking AI to give you a competitive advantage. So just at the basic level, how should executives think about AI as adoption, bringing it on with its tool set, et cetera? How should they be oriented towards AI in a transformation?
I want to go back to that Venn diagram that I just showed. And AI is a tool. Yes, it's a powerful tool. We always say that human the difference between human and other species is we have the intelligence. I don't want to say AI is the intelligent. You just can unplug it and it literally can't do anything, but it has that power to do analysis. The supercomputers that we have, like Frontier can do 1.2 quintillion operations per second. If I put it in perspective, if all of us 7.8 billion people on Earth on average can do 10 math questions per minute, which is kind of unrealistic. Not all of us have this power. If we can do we can solve 10 math problems per minute, it would take us how many years? 27 years to do what Frontier can do in seconds. That's why that computation power is creating that thought, that like hypothesis in our mind that is intelligent, is smart, because that power that it has. So how executives should think about it, they should think about it as a transformational initiative rather than just adopting tool. And back to that Venn diagram that I just showed, if you look at it, culture as a foundation, we need to prepare our people. There are some organizations that are still dealing with their board members, even executives, or maybe their employees in the weeds with the fear of AI, or AI is not there yet. And if we don't change that mindset, if we don't prepare our people about what AI is, and it's not like something scary, it's not going to take your job. Of course, it's going to automate some pieces of the job, but it doesn't mean that it's going to 100% replace us. That would help to get our people together. And to make it happen, we need to give them space for innovation. You mentioned that you're with other consultants and you're leading like different initiatives. And I bet the most common thing that you're hearing from those companies is we're busy. We don't have time for change. But how we can have that space for innovation, that space
Isn't
for
that
thinking?
completely backwards?
Yeah.
That's such a foreign, and I know you're right, because I hear it all the time, but I am too busy to get better. I am too busy to become more efficient. I'm too busy to do a better job serving my customers. That's insane to me.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
you're right, a lot of folks are oriented that way.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter which industry. We are all busy. And even sometimes I say, oh, I'm busy. I'm like, oh, no, I shouldn't say that, because it's like, but it's so easy to get in with, do the work, that we forget, no, there should be a better way to do it. And that's where like we need to give that space for innovation to our employees. If you look at them, they started from those abrasive paper, right? And now they're like in back to 2018 or 15, if I'm not mistaken, they were listed at top 15 innovation company. Why? Because one rule that they have, which is set back in 1970, every employee can spend 15% of their time on innovation. And that's actually where these sticky notes are coming from. Like they're coming from this space for innovation. And think about it, like if you give that a space for innovation, what your employees will be capable of to do. And then the business model itself. So right now, there are some opportunities that they weren't possible before. It wasn't like the right fit, but the knowledge, expertise are there. How we can take advantage of it, create better services for our clients. And in some cases, maybe it's an opportunity to get into a new market that we couldn't serve before. Maybe there was a client of ours, an engineering firm, that municipalities, they couldn't afford them, because most municipalities, they don't have that much budget. But if you look at the US itself, about 60 to 70% of municipalities, they're small. So now they're using AI to decrease their operation cost, be more efficient, so that they can serve that market. So it's just like the land of opportunities is limitless. And then the operation is going back, like to make it enable, we need to revisit our workflows. If we keep doing what we used to do, that won't get us far. And the example I usually make is, I don't know, Andrew, if you've seen those top monitor fridge, or maybe your grandma had it, like early fridge, they were called top monitor fridge. And it was like early fridge itself. And when they were invented, people used to keep them in the wooden box. Why? Because they used to keep ice in the wooden box. And they thought that's the best way to use fridge, because it's just a habit, right?
To put the box in the freezer in the fridge.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
I said, put the fridge itself in the box because they used to keep ice in the wooden box.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like they're programmed.
Yes. Yeah. So I love that word you use, the program part. Like what our brain is programmed right now in terms of what workflow we should follow, but we need to stop doing it and we need to revisit that and see, okay, how it looks like with AI itself. So I talk
Wow.
about the culture, business, and also the operation to make them possible.
Well, between airplanes and ice boxes, I'm really enjoying this. I'm actually starting to get caught up here. You mentioned the land of opportunity, and that kind of begs the question, what is the biggest opportunity, do you believe, that most leaders are overlooking when it comes to AI and adoption?
I think one of the biggest is the business model. And if you look at the internet, it enables subscriptions. Companies switch to subscription, and actually it's a good business model because how many of us we have subscription and we forget until we go and look at our bank statement or like, oh, I'm still paying for Netflix or whatever. Like, so subscriptions is like was invented in the way that we do it today with internet. So with AI, the question is what that business model could look like. And back in 1870s, when the railroad was invented, people used to use it for shipping stuff around or going from one city to another city. People used to raise cattle like locally because it was expensive. And then eventually they learned that they can ship cattle with a train itself. There was a guy called Gustavus Swift, and Gustavus, he was a butcher. He started with $20. And Gustavus was like, there should be a better way because most of my cattle, they're dead by the time they get to the destination, how we can improve it. So he was looking at it rather than just increasing efficiency, getting the cattle faster to the destination. He wanted to see like, okay, what are the better ways that I can do it? So the way that he manages it was, what if we ship meat? We ship meat, and everyone thought that he's crazy, and no one accepted his offer until he found a partner who invented the ice box and put it at the beginning, two sides of the train itself. Fridge wasn't a common thing back in time. And so he put two wooden boxes on both sides of a car and the train itself, and now they could ship meat. And Swift, he could make he changed the whole meat industry. Actually, that's how processed meat is invented. And Ford, in his book, My Work and Life, he referenced Gustavus Swift as a person who inspired him to create that assembly line in Ford car manufacturing. So what was the change here? Gustavus looked at it as the railroad invention as beyond just efficiency. He was looking at it as a different way, like, okay, how I can change that system and how I can ship more meat, how I can be more efficient, efficient, yes, in terms of the amount that I'm shipping, and also like how I can do it differently. So my question for your audience is what that railroad and cattle situation versus processed meat may look like for their business.
Yeah, just, another analogy to kind of get you thinking outside of your box or what you're accustomed to. So I'd like to know what you think in it. You talked about business models and operating systems. And so what are the early signs that maybe an organization's business or operating system just isn't ready for AI?
One common thing that there was a CEO a few weeks ago who reached out to me, and he asked me to convince his board that they should invest in AI. And during the conversation, one of the board members who was against AI mentioned is, we brought these X and Y tools to the company, but no one adopted it. The challenge, like why they're not ready, is they're getting that pushback from their employees. The adoption rate is not high. And it's because it's coming from the executives. It's not coming from both sides. I don't think it should be completely 100% from employees in wheat. And it shouldn't be completely 100% from the executives. I think there should be a balance between these two, because executives, they understand North Star, they understand the business value, the vision that they have. And employees are the one that dealing with those day-to-day work, with the problems. So if we can put these two together, that's where we can find those solutions. And if employees, they see that they have voice in that initiative, then they want to be part of that journey. So when we get the pushback from employees to adopt an AI tool, it means our organization is not ready. It means something is not, it's not happening in the right way. It could be we didn't train our employees and their mindset is not still ready, or it could be we are isolating employees in a weeds from what we're dealing, and we're just sending in them the tools, pushing for tools rather than being pulled and asking them to adopt, and they don't adopt it. And eventually we don't get the ROI we expect. And we say, AI didn't work because it didn't have any ROI, because no one adopted it, because they didn't have a voice in those tool selection. So that's like the pushback. I think this is really common right now. Like companies, they adopted Copilot or OpenAI, but they don't get that adoption rate, and they're like, we don't get the ROI we expect. And I think it's because like we're trying to push those tools rather than getting our employees have a voice in it.
Yeah, and often I see it's not the strategy, it's the execution that falls short. So do you think that some of this disconnect between leadership wanting to adopt AI and the staff hesitating or not quite ready, how much of that do you think is fear-based from the staff?
I can't say the percentage, but it's definitely contributing toward pushing back for a tool. I had a conversation with an executive, the VP of operation from a company. They sent out a survey, and the person that I was working with, he was an AI fan. He was trying to see how their company could be AI enabled. He sent out a survey, and one of the responses that he shared was one of their said that you're trying to bring AI to the company because you want to replace me. So back to your point, yes, absolutely, it could be contributing toward that low adoption. And again, I want to go back to that culture piece as the foundation. That's why I call it the foundation, because if our employees' mindset is not ready, and if they don't know like why we are bringing AI, what we're trying to do, then they definitely want to push back. And besides fear, the emotion itself, some AI tools are not there yet. I had some conversation with some employees, and they're like, if I do it the way that I do, it's faster rather than I go and jump between tools. That's the other issue. I think that's kind of like a tech issue, or the habit that we built. We got used to a process, a workflow that we're fast at, and now bringing like using AI could have a learning curve or could add some nuances, and we're like, oh, it takes longer. If I do it myself, it's faster. So I think the fear, yes, and also some tools readiness contributing to that low adoption rate itself.
Right. And I've heard those fears before, but I've also heard AI experts like yourself push back and say, it's not AI that replaces people's jobs. It's people that use AI are the ones that are replacing jobs. Is that a fair axiom?
Yeah, and I mentioned earlier about the company competitors and how if competitors adopt AI, they change clients' expectations and how it could cause a company go out of the loop, out of the game, because competitors can serve their clients better, definitely. And back to that fear, actually, I just sent my second book to an editor. It's called Future by Design. And if my editor doesn't change the title, because sometimes they do, depending on what you wrote. But my goal is turning that fear into hope for future. And I want to let people know that we're still in control of our future, and we have that power to design our future ourselves rather than letting it be designed for us. Its future is inescapable, but it's designable.
There you go. That's an excellent point. So my last question is, with regard to AI adoption in your organization, what's the one question every CEO should be asking themselves, and why?
I would say, and this question is simple, but it can do a lot. And it goes back to what you mentioned earlier, like if it's because of fear. One question that I think could be a game changer is the executives who want to enable their companies with AI is asking themselves, what's in it for my employees? And that should be communicated with employees during all hands, town halls, or even a simple email from the CEO talking about the long-term vision, what they're trying to achieve, and why AI matters. Because those communication could help employees to feel they're part of the game. And there are some cases that especially the young generation who are excited about AI and they're trying to do some stuff. And then after a few months, they're coming to me and say, oh, why I should invest more time on this? I have my day-to-day work. My manager expect this project to be delivered on time. I don't want to work on it because I'm not promoted. I am not getting any bonus. I'm not getting any acknowledgement or there isn't any incentive for that. I think it's really important in order to get employees' contribution. And without employees' contribution, I don't think a company can go that far. It's important to communicate and think about what's in it for my employees, why they should support me, and how, if they support me, what they would get out of it, like how I acknowledge their effort and contribution itself. And that really changes the game.
Well, and I see why you keep using the culture word, because that's really what it's all about.
Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. Okay, Sam's book is called Disrupt It. Share with our audience how people can find your book.
You can go to my website, Zolfagharian.com, and there's a link over there that you can, depending on where you are in the world, you can land, for example, on the localized Amazon webpage, or
Okay.
but it's available on Amazon. I'm not sure how international is your audience, but if they go to my website, it may make it easier.
Okay, excellent, excellent. And when this podcast is published, the captions will be there and people will know how to spell that. And we actually do have an international audience. In
Nice.
fact, over a 2-week period, I interviewed somebody in France and someone in Ireland.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, we do have an international audience and international guests. So great. Know how to find the book. There's going to be people in our audience, Sam, that may want to get in touch with you to learn about, the right adoption curve, the sequence of steps that they need to take. How can our audience get in touch with you?
I think the best way is my LinkedIn. I'm pretty much active in terms of sharing my thoughts, writing articles, or even videos about what's happening and what's the best approach tackling AI. And I usually address the problems that I'm hearing from executives in terms of AI adoption, and then I share my thought. I think the best way to be in touch is on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. And I'm going to spell your LinkedIn handle for our audience.
Thank you.
So after it's linkedin.com/in, Sam's handle is Sam, S-A-M, and then her last name is spelled Z as in zebra, O-L-F as in fast, A-G-H-A-R-I-A-N. And I just want to thank you again, Sam. Doctor, your knowledge is amazing, and I love how you really kind of frame this. It's really not such a daunting task, and you really need to know the entire ecosystem, and it's about solving your problems. It's about efficiency, maybe solving your customers' problems, but it definitely, what I'm hearing from you over and over is you have to involve your entire team in your adoption journey. So, Doctor, thank you so much for your time and your talent. I so appreciate that. And I'm just going to thank our audience for joining us, and thank you for joining us. And I wish you all the best, and let's grow. Goodbye,
Thank you so
everybody.
much.
Thank you.